and welcome to Ben Readin. Due to a cosmic coincidence millions of the years in the making, two Bens work at the same small coastal library. We want to thank you for tuning in to this literary extravaganza. This month we are talking about Stephen King's The Shining and Stephen King's Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. But before that, I think we're going to do something new. Are we doing something new, Ben?
Ben, we are doing something new. We have a new segment, and it's called Ben's Asking Bens.
Ben's Asking Bens. Sounds great.
And so here we go. Ben, dragons or dinosaurs?
Dragons.
Very good.
I think we won. So, Ben, new evidence has come to light that not only voracious flesh-eating dinosaurs had feathers, but maybe herbivores of the dinosaur variety had feathers as well. So, all dinosaurs have feathers or scales?
Feathers.
Feathers it is. Another win.
All right. Okay, so, okay, everybody, so we're going to talk about Dr. Sleep and The Shining. I have not read The Shining.
And I have not read Dr. Sleep.
Okay, so we're just going to kind of ask questions and go back and forth a little bit.
There will be spoilers ahead. We are going to talk about some major plot points. We're going to talk about the plot of the book, really. So if you haven't read it, maybe you should.
Okay. All right, so Ben, tell me a little bit about The Shining.
All right, Ben. The Shining features Jack Torrance, the father, Wendy Torrance, the mother, and Danny Torrance, the protagonist that has The Shining, which is a psychic ability. I know that Danny is in Dr. Sleep, right?
Danny is in Dr. Sleep.
Okay, all right.
The whole book is about him.
Okay, great. And spoiler again, they all two of them live and one dies. This is not like the movie. I think a lot of Americans have a relationship with The Shining, the movie by Stanley Kubrick.
Yep.
This is not flashy, and they left out a lot of really interesting things. There are wasps everywhere in The Shining.
In the book.
In the book.
Yep.
Yeah, in the book. And there is a large collection of scary hedge animals.
I like the sound of that.
Well, ask me what kind of hedge animals they are, Ben.
Ben, what kind of hedge animals are they?
Well, they prominently feature a trio of lions.
Okay.
A shepherd, a dog.
Okay.
Like a German shepherd. And the scariest of all, a rabbit.
Oh.
It's actually really horrifying. It's a giant rabbit that tries to eat Danny Torrance when he's outside playing in the snow.
How big are they? Are they like 6 feet tall?
They're huge.
They're big?
They're big.
Okay. Do they sort of like roam the land?
Sort of, you know
like
that game, Red Light, Green Light, where you like turn around and they move and you turn back around and they stop? Yep. It's exactly like that.
Okay.
And you have to turn around to get to the hotel because you can't really walk backwards in snowshoes because the Overlook Hotel looks like a desolate wasteland in the winter and a beautiful Garden of Eden in the summer.
Okay. And they're just sort of there caretaking, right?
Yes, the Torrances are caretaking. Jack, the father, has fallen on hard times due to his alcoholism, which runs in the family. His father was an alcoholic as well, and an abusive one. And Jack is on the road to becoming an abusive father.
Okay.
There is an instance where he breaks Danny's arm.
He talks about that in Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Yep.
And I feel bad for Wendy. Wendy's sort of the innocent bystander in all of this. The hotel is driving Jack insane.
Okay.
It's very subtle. It's very in his head. It's very, you're going to be a great person if you can do this. Just caretake the hotel. It's going to be fine.
Yep.
Danny, on the other hand, is freaking out most of the time because he can see all the blood on the walls and the ghosts roaming the halls, and they attack him.
Like a lot of bad stuff has gone down at that hotel.
A lot of bad stuff has gone down at that hotel, and they actually talk about that, Ben, through Jack finding old newspaper clippings in an old scrapbook of the hotel in the basement.
That's interesting because newspapers come into Dr. Sleep for a little bit, just in the beginning. But they kind of... Sounds like it reframes the end of the book a little bit. And I think at the end of the book, the hotel explodes?
Yes, at the end of The Shining, the hotel explodes. Basically, Danny is running away from all the bad stuff's going on. Jack has become possessed by the hotel. He has a knife in his back. He has maimed Wendy. He has shattered Halloran's face with a mallet. There's no axe, but there's like a croquet mallet. And Danny is sort of standing up to him and distracting him. While the boiler, which has been this constant thing, the boiler creeps.
The boiler is sort of this is like the embodiment of the evil of the hotel.
No, the boiler. No, the boiler. Just throughout the whole book, Stephen King has had characters talking about the boiler. It creeps. The boiler creeps. The pressure creeps up on the boiler, and you have to go and let it off.
Oh,
you got to go let off the steam on the boiler morning and night because the boiler creeps. And so this is a thing. The boiler creeping, and then eventually they don't pay attention and Jack cannot stop the boiler from blowing up, but Halloran and Wendy and Danny all make it out. It's actually a really exciting end of the book, because you've got Danny calling for help and Halloran coming from Florida through a snowstorm and then up the mountains, and then he's attacked by the big hedge lions, which are scary.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sort of exciting, and then the boiler goes and the whole building explodes. And then they sort of all end up at a cabin in Maine, a set of cabins in Maine, where Dick is cooking for the summer, sort of recuperating. And that's where The Shining ends. And is that where Dr. Sleep picks back up, Ben?
Kind of. Dr. Sleep picks up a little bit after The Shining. The opening of Dr. Sleep kind of reframes The Shining a little bit, and it shows that it tells us that the newspapers think that Jack Torrance is a hero for trying to turn off the boiler in the hotel.
And I think that's just an evil influence.
Probably. But the majority of Dr. Sleep is about a grown-up Danny Torrance, now called Dan. Mm-hmm. And he is an alcoholic, falling on hard times, just like his father. And then his father before him. Yes. And so we kind of see Danny's recovery towards the, in the beginning of the book. He goes to New Hampshire. He starts working as a hospice worker, and he starts going to AA.
This is very secular because Jack Torrance was going to the Overlook to sort of recover from alcoholism. Yeah. Except he went to a haunted hotel to get better.
Yeah. And so here, Dan starts working at a hospice center, and he starts helping the dying patients just sort of move on when they're ready. And
is he using The Shining?
Yeah, his Shining gift kind of helps with that, and he can use it in a very positive way, which kind of helps with his alcoholism recovery as well.
Well, I'm sure that just helps with everything. The Shining is sort of torture. I mean, they have a hard time shutting it off.
Yep, absolutely. So in the meantime, while Dan is making his recovery and kind of starting a new life, we follow two other sets of characters. One is a little girl named Abra, and she has The Shining.
And this is Abra as in
abracadabra.
Abracadabra.
And, very clever, Mr. King.
I'm gonna reach out and grab you.
So she has a very powerful gift for The Shining. She makes things move. She makes a bunch of spoons stick to the ceiling when things don't go her way on her birthday.
That's a good outlet, though. I mean, of all the things that could happen, spoons on the ceiling is pretty weak.
Spoons aren't bad. But because she is the most powerful Shining user that we know of, she attracts the attention of another group called the True Knot. And
True Knot as
in K-N-O-T.
K-N-O-T, not N-O-T.
Yes.
Which is kind of scary.
Yeah. So the True Knot is a group of people who have been around for centuries. They're sort of like vampires. They're not like the Bela Lugosi vampires or the 80s vampires.
Oh, I loved the 80s vampires.
They're not like the little girl vampires or old man vampires or superhero vampires or Muppet vampires, and especially not like sparkly vampires.
Ben?
Yeah?
Which do you prefer, the sparkly vampires or the 80s vampires?
80s vampires.
Good choice.
Yeah. So they feed off of children who have the Shining, and when a child with a lot of the Shining in them starts using it, they notice it, and they start traveling around in their RVs. They look you wouldn't notice them.
Okay.
Like, they all travel in like a caravan and just like RVs, and they look like harmless people.
That's very interesting, because the Overlook Hotel sort of wanted to eat Danny, in a sense, like a delightful treat.
Yeah.
So maybe The Shining just smells good to evil creatures?
Maybe. What kind of delightful treat, Ben?
I would think that Danny Torrance at that age, as a 6-year-old, was probably a donut hole then.
What kind of a donut hole?
Maybe the kind of donut hole with the multicolored sprinkles on it, glazed, probably with some kind of filling.
Yeah.
Probably blueberry.
All right. I'll go with that.
I'd eat it.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't evil. Not a child, of course, but I wish I had a
glazed donut
hole. Yeah.
So, once she attracts the attention of the True Knot, she and Danny, she has been kind of contacting Danny throughout her years, sort of accidentally at first.
With The Shining?
With The Shining, because they both have The Shining. So they sort of leave messages for each other on their like chalkboards.
Ben, could you say that they're Shining pen pals?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I guess you could. Oh, boy.
Sorry.
No. You could say that they're like pen pals, actually.
Great.
And that's kind of what they do.
Well.
For most of their time. Like,
okay.
While they're kind of talking to each
It's
other.
a nice way to get to know somebody.
Yeah. They leave nice little messages for each other. It's really heartwarming, actually.
Oh, Mr. King.
Yeah. So, she and Danny kind of have to square off against the True Knot. And at that point, the book kind of becomes a Western. And it's just sort of about the two sides getting closer and closer. And things come to a head, actually, at the Overlook Lodge in Colorado, where the old hotel used to be. Because that's where the True Knot has their kind of headquarters.
Okay. Now, when you say it comes as a Western, like, I just wonder, how do you defend yourself with The Shining? Are they shooting mind bullets?
No, they actually kind of go, like, Abra can go inside of other people's heads.
Okay.
So like when the leader of the True Knot, her name is Rose, she can get into Rose's head, or get into Abra's head. Okay. But then Abra can kind of defend herself against it. Okay. So they can kind of battle in their minds. They can switch bodies without them noticing sometimes. And it makes for some very interesting moments.
Yeah, that would be...
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm sure it's true to form. It's vicious and bloody, as Stephen King makes things when the showdown inevitably comes.
It's not what you would expect, actually. There are no mind bullets or anything like that happening. She does, cause some damage. They do cause damage to each other, and when they do it in their minds, it represents itself.
It manifests.
It manifests in their body as well. So if in their mind they, get their hand, messed up, in real life, their hand is now messed up.
Okay.
It's like the Matrix.
It's the Shining Matrix.
Yeah.
The Shining Matrix. Great. So overall, would you suggest this book to other people?
Absolutely. I would say that if you're a fan of The Shining and you have not read Dr. Sleep yet, you should go for it because you're going to get a nice little, story about Danny and psychic vampires.
I think that sounds great. And if you haven't read The Shining yet, I'm going to go ahead and say that you should. Because Stephen King writes very well. It is a wonderful descent into madness. It's very creepy. It had me looking over my shoulder thinking my house was haunted from time to time.
Yeah.
Overall, thumbs up.
Thumbs up here.
All right. So, Ben,
Yes, Ben.
the people have spoken, and we're reading a book next.
We're reading a book. We're going to read a book called Queenpin by Megan Abbott, and this is for Noir November. So we're going to be kind of reading some hard-boiled crime fiction for this month, and then we're going to talk about it on the third installment. On the third installment of Ben Reading, and if you want to take the fate of the Bens into your hand and pick what book we read next, we'll have a survey up at the Rockport Public Library's website. We've been flashing the Bens email and the web address throughout this extravaganza. So you can go there, and I believe we're going to London next. Yes, we are. London in Trouble.
London in Trouble, a magical realist tour of books about magic in London.
Yes, that's right.
That's right. What he said. This is Ben.
And I'm Ben.
And thank you for listening to Ben Readin.
See you later, everybody. Thank you.